Now, our first speaker is Honourable Tracey Martin. Tracey was first elected to Parliament as a New Zealand First MP in 2011. A great believer in giving back to the community, Tracey spent the majority of her pre-Parliament time on parent-based fundraising and volunteer committees while she raised 3 children with her husband, Ben. She is the only MP who listed their previous occupation as stay-at-home mum. Oh, very cool. Though she has done other work, Tracey is the Minister of Children, Seniors and Internal Affairs and is also the Associate Minister of Education. Please make her feel welcome. Honourable Tracey Martin. Marlo.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Ko Martin te whānau, ko Mohi te whānau whāngai, ko Ngāti Kahununu te iwi, ko Tracey taku ingoa. Tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. I'm flexible. Have to be flexible. It's the way New Zealand rolls. So tēnā koutou katoa. Talofa lava, kia rana, ma lola le, bula vanaka, taloha ne, whakalofa lahi atu. Aye. And warm greetings. Look, it's a real honour to be invited here today to open this event, which is the first time that the LIANZA conference has been held here in Manukau City. So I really want to thank you for inviting me. I asked Bill, it's in my briefing notes, that there hasn't been a minister to come and open the LIANZA conference for around about 9 years. And I asked Bill why that was. And he said that the last person who was here as a minister, the reception wasn't so great. So I'm particularly honoured that so far it's gone really well. I would have to say to you that it's a brave government that annoys librarians. But actually there's a serious note to that. Go and have a look through history at dictatorships and the groups of people that they decide to go and get rid of first. And librarians are one of them, because librarians hold the knowledge. They're also incredibly protective of that knowledge and the capacity of people to be able to access it. So it is an incredibly brave government that annoys librarians. So I'm exceptionally honoured, and so far it's going really well. So it's also a privilege to warmly welcome delegates from the Pacific, the USA, Canada. I was just in Canada. I got back last Monday. So I was there talking to a lot of First Nations and government departments around a series of things. Mostly it was around child protection and what's happening with the First Nations there, and an amazing piece of law that the federal government has put into place, that the provincial governments and federal agencies are now running like hell to actually make sure they're ready to implement as at the 1st of January next year. So I was spending a lot of time talking to First Nations up there, but also talking about seniors and isolation, because they have the International World Organisation for Seniors sitting in the hospital there in Toronto. I was talking about gambling and marijuana. Those two things don't necessarily go together. So it's lovely to see some Canadians here with us today. Hong Kong, Singapore, the United Kingdom, Australia, and from all around New Zealand. I'd like to acknowledge and welcome the keynote speakers to this conference. A lot of work has obviously gone into the planning of this conference, and I'm sure it will be a wonderful event. I would love to be able to stay with you and listen to you. What you do fascinates me. You're so vitally important on every level of what I do. So particularly with children, one of the things, and I'm not sure, it might speak to it somewhere, I'm a terrible person for following speeches. It might speak to it later about the work that the National Library is doing and Services and Schools is doing with our remand homes and inside our remand facilities and youth justice facilities. If you think about learning support and in my associate education portfolio and the vital service that you and the knowledge you hold have in that role, when you think about seniors and the way you connect communities and become a safe place for our seniors to be, on every level, you are vital. So language is a powerful thing. Words can welcome, words can show love, words can inspire, words can tell a beautiful story, words are how we connect and relate. Words play such an important part of our social fabric and therefore our well-being. And I would have to say words in multiple languages. That language and the way language interacts with the words of their language tell those and weave through those stories and carry the personality of a culture. As collectors and sharers of stories, libraries have a very significant role to play in the well-being of all our children, from all our people, from our children to our seniors. Oh, here you go, I'm going to repeat myself. As the Minister whose portfolios include children, education, internal affairs and seniors, I'm greatly vested in what happens at this conference that will benefit the welfare of our families and communities. I also happen to be the Joint Minister of the Child and Youth Wellbeing Strategy with the Prime Minister. So again, measuring that well-being and your role in it. The vision for this year's conference asks you to all to share, gift, reciprocate and collaborate using the elements of vai-fialoi, respectful relationships, mawhana, warmth, ofa, love, male, humour, through talanoa, shared dialogue. I'm encouraged by the work across the sector to connect more and to create relationships, and I'm going to talk about 3 of these. There are over 25 services that the National Library offers in support of New Zealand libraries, including the Aotearoa People's Network Kaharoa, Digital New Zealand, EPIC, Māori Subject Headings, Print Disability Service, and Te Puna Search Service. The National Library Strategic Directions 2030 states that the many initiatives that they want to develop require collaboration and partnering with others in order to achieve change for New Zealand. An example of one of these collaborative initiatives is partnering with overseas institutions and experts. I'm delighted to tell you that the Pacific Virtual Museum pilot program is underway. The Australian Government, together with the National Library of New Zealand and the National Library of Australia, are working with colleagues from across the Pacific to develop a shared online place that enables Pacific peoples to connect with their cultural heritage from all around the world. It will be designed by, with, and for Pacific peoples, educators, learners, and researchers from around our region, utilising the National Library's award-winning Digital New Zealand technology. The initiative will produce an online portal that provides an easy, single point of access to digitised Pacific cultural heritage items held in different museum, gallery, and library collections around the world. If that includes your institution, then the National Library will be looking to partner with you too. Earlier this year, I announced the Communities of Readers, following the Cabinet decision to provide funding to Te Puna Foundation to support this initiative. Led by the National Library of New Zealand, working in collaboration with partners, it will focus on engaging children and young people with reading for pleasure and well-being. New Zealand has persistent and intergenerational low levels of literacy in some of our communities. Not all children, young people and their communities have the same opportunities to develop a love of reading. There are inequities in access to books, libraries, expertise and reading role models. Communities of Readers is the initial stage in the National Library's Growing a Nation of Readers strategy. In Communities of Readers, the National Library services to schools will work with 3 to 5 communities to strengthen reading engagement through reading for pleasure. The community projects will test the success of the engagement strategies with different types of communities and use the research outcomes to shape future programs. It is expected that the selected communities will include a regional city, a rural isolated schools community, and disengaged vulnerable young people with particular reading challenges. The initiative is expected to run for 2 to 3 years, with the bulk of the activity next year in 2020. The first community project has started in Dunedin, with the aim of increasing the number of young readers inspired to read for pleasure and well-being. The focus is children aged 3 to 7 and South Dunedin during their transition from early childhood education to primary school. Here in Tamaki Makaurau, the National Library's collaboration with Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei is the beginning of a relationship with local iwi which has delivered the magic of He Tohu Tamaki. The learning experience provides educators and learners with greater knowledge and understanding of Te Tiriti o Waitangi, He Whakapuntanga, and the women's suffrage petition, connecting them with local and national stories. He Tohu Tamaki includes video content, static images, and books, and an approach to design to support educators and give learners multiple experiences. A virtual reality exploration of the document room in Wellington is also part of the learning. The intention is to provide a variety of perspectives and to link the national with the local, making the founding documents relevant for learners. When teachers and students visit, these resources will be explored via their school's local curriculum and through the following themes: documents, people, living together, place, and our future. Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei is the first of local iwi to share their stories. Place is very important to this project, which is why it is important to gather more stories relevant to Tamaki and continue building the Crown Māori Partnership, a founding principle of He Tohu. Next year, we will see the 110th year of LIANZA in operation. Over that time, the way our people interact with library services has changed and continues to change. The new relationship agreement between LIANZA and the National Library, signed earlier this year at Turanga, the Central Library in Christchurch, lays a great foundation for further discussion. It was the same collaboration supported by the government that saw the successful bid to hold the IFLA World Library and Information Congress in Auckland, which will now take place in 2022. I know, it's going to be pretty cool. It is going to be cool. So that's something to look forward to. But essentially, the future is about the old and the new. At one level, how we use technology to reshape services so that we're in a better position to change as quickly as the world around us does, and how we derive greater collaboration between families and communities, with cultural institutions, across government agencies, and with the private sector and with other governments. In doing so, we can all play a small part in a much bigger assignment to make life better for all our people. But I think another really exciting opportunity was the announcement that we're now going to have New Zealand history in our schools. And the opportunity, the massive opportunity that gives us now to bring out into the light all of the information we have, information held in select committee records around the settlements, information that is held in dark places around New Zealand, real stories about real New Zealand. And I also think the way to reconnect with local libraries, local schools, and local iwi for local stories. The relationship will be reset between many schools and communities and local iwi based on learning more about what was the full history of New Zealand. And you have a massive role to play in that. Thank you. I hope you have a great weekend.
Hai